So I wanted to do this post to explain the interaction between your carbohydrate intake, how excessive blue light exposure is affecting that, and also the role that non-native EMF exposures can enhance the negativity of all of these things combined. Now, I don't want you to get discouraged about eating carbohydrates, and I don't want you to refrain from that, but I want you to understand the interplay of how eating carbohydrates in the presence of excessive blue light exposure, not getting enough proper sunlight, and being in an electro smog environment is going to have deleterious effects. So, what we see when you have all of these three things combined is we see an increase in insulin secretion, but a decrease in insulin sensitivities. And what happens here is that drives the kidneys to retain sodium, and that's going to drive arterial spasming, the increase of LDL oxidation, which is what causes atherosclerosis, along with the decrease in arterial flexibility. Now, when this happens, what happens with that is you get chronic hypertension, what's known as elevated blood pressure. So when the body is having a notification that blood glucose is rising, you have an increase of insulin secretion, which if you have this in a chronic state and you're also in a stressed out state, your body will decrease bicarbonate secretion, right? This all comes from your pancreas. This will then increase the levels of acidity in your body or overall systemic metabolic acidosis, which will then decrease the proteolytic enzyme activity. Now that leads to the decrease in the breakdown of proteins, and then if you're eating enough proteins but you're not breaking it down, your body's not absorbing that. And proteins are needed for tissue repair. It's also needed for your immune system. So through all of this, we see an altered systemic metabolism, and this is where we start getting into massive health issues. Now, I know a lot of people look at this and they say, well, the key and the solution to all of this is a low carbohydrate diet. Now, that may be the case, but I'm not a big fan of eliminating carbs as an absolute. I'm a fan of being a balanced approach towards this so that you can match whatever your body's needs are. And that's a really big key I want you to take away from here, is to know what your current body needs are. And we do this through a couple ways. One, we look at your current heart rate variability. We look at how well you slept. We look at how well you recovered from the previous day. We can also look at your ability to switch between from burning carbohydrates and fat for energy. You saw the post I did about using that little device called the lumen to measure your CO2 in your breath to give you an extrapolation of, are you burning fat or carbohydrates currently for energy? This will then dictate all of your current approaches. Yeah, in later posts, we're going to get into how do you measure your HRV most effectively? What does that mean? How do you measure your current metabolic state using things like the lumen, or using things like a blood glucose monitor and a ketone monitor? We're going to look at all of these things so that you can get an insight and to make decisions on what you should be doing for your body, from a nutritional state, from an exercise state, from a rest and recovery, from exercise, and also sleep. So it's very important to know all of these things so that you can make more critical, informed decisions about what you're going to be doing with your health. So hopefully this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, just leave it in the comments below. And again, thank you for being a subscriber. And let me know if you guys have any more topics that you want me to go over. All right, till the next one, Dr. Mike out. Be well and aloha.